Hey, everybody, welcome to Resiliency Radio, your go-to podcast for the most cutting-edge insights in integrative and functional medicine. I'm your host, Dr. Jill, and with each episode, we dive into the heart of healing and personal transformation. Join me as I interview thought leaders, medical experts, and interesting types of people of all backgrounds and styles. I hope today you will really enjoy this episode. It is with a good friend and person that I have used in marketing and social media for over a decade, Daffnee Cohen, and I'll introduce her in just a moment, so stay tuned. You won't want to miss this episode. Before I do, I just want to remind you that you can find all kinds of healthy products and services at drjillhealth.com. You can find things for Epstein-Barr, mast cell activation syndrome, histamine issues, infections, chronic complex issues like fatigue, and all of those are qualified and certified and curated especially for you, high quality. You can find that at drjillhealth.com. Also, if you don't know about my line, drjillbeauty.com, you can find that at drjillbeauty or at drjillhealth.com. And today I just wanted to feature my absolute favorites. This is a kit we made up because it's the stuff that I use every single day. And what we got here is the Biopeptide Beauty Cream and the HA Collagen Booster. This is an amazing anti-aging product that I have been using. I travel with it, I take it everywhere, and I feel like it's even more powerful than retinoids without the peeling. I still use retinoids, but way less frequency with this new Biopeptide Beauty Cream. And this HA Collagen Booster, really amazing and powerful, especially in the climates like mine in Colorado, where it's really, really dry and the skin tends to dry out, full of moisture and collagen and peptides for your beautiful skin. And the third part of that is the Vita CE serum. This serum is a vitamin CE serum that is an antioxidant. I use this in the morning to protect my face. I use it under makeup after I've washed my clean, fresh face. And then at night, I put on the Biopeptide Beauty Cream and the HA Collagen Booster here. So check those out at drjillhealth.com. It's called Dr. Jill Favorites. If you just want to know and get that package, you can order that yourself. You can also get a signed copy of my book at drjillhealth.com. Every order that goes through our store comes to me. I sign it personally for you if you so desire. And so you can grab a copy of my book, Unexpected, at drjillhealth.com as well, and it'll be personally signed by me. Okay, let's get on to the show and introduce our guest. Daffnee Cohen is the powerhouse behind some of the most compelling digital marketing and brand strategy work in the wellness, lifestyle, and personal growth industry. As the founder of the results-driven marketing agency and host of podcast Better with Daffnee and Tori, she brings a rare mix of clarity, creativity, and conviction to everything she touches. You will see that in our interview today. She is the most authentic, real, gratitude-filled woman that I know. I love her and appreciate her so much. She's done so much for my team and my work, and I know you're going to enjoy this. She is especially good at helping her clients consider a sounding board and a steady force that really keeps them grounded and finding their most authentic voice. And I could go on and on. She's also a Zumba coach. She's a CrossFit she's in competitive CrossFit, and she has three beautiful babies that are part of her life and part of her social media if you want to check her out at Daffnee Cohen. But let's get to the interview. Let's welcome Daffnee Cohen. Daffnee, I could not be more excited to be here with you. I have known you for probably 12 or more years as a friend, but also as my social media marketing person. And there are so many things I love about you, and we're going to dive into many of them today. But one thing is, I love how you authentically show up. And even when we're talking discussions about how to do something in my business, you're not afraid to come to me, and here I'm the business owner, whatever, to say, Jill, let's do it differently, or maybe this aligns better this way. Like, you're a truth teller. And I like to surround myself with people who get that and also are not afraid to call out the hard stuff and to maybe take a different direction than we expected when it doesn't feel aligned. So today we're going to dive into alignment, all of these things. But first of all, just welcome to the show. I am so excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I was joking earlier, but I'm not really that this is like the highlight of my year. I just love you so much.
Oh, I feel the same, Daphne. And I will say one of the things I've learned in business, and we're going to talk about how you do business and balance your beautiful kiddos and all of this. But one of the things, and again, I know you get this, is the people that surround us, my staff, my team like you and Kyle and all the people I work with. Um, it has to be energetically aligned, like someone who really gets us and how we flow, because otherwise there's friction and there's things. And so I think part of this whole setting the stage is how do we create a life that we love, a business that we love, a balance that we love. And it really has to do with being honest in the energy we want to surround ourselves with. But let's go way back. Tell me your story as far as how did you get into this? You're one of the leading experts in this area. So many of my colleagues also use you for services, and you've been around about as long as I have. But how did it start? Give us like the origin story for you.
Yeah, okay, it's actually quite funny. So, my first person I ever worked with was Mark Hyman, and I don't know that people always realize that. And it was, I mean, I didn't even know what functional medicine was. I will say that my mom was like kind of ahead of the curve when she was younger, and like we lived our lives very much in accordance with like functional and integrative medicine. And so when I met him and I was learning about it, I was like, "Oh my gosh, there's a name for this. Like we're doing this. We're trying to do this, you know?" And Mark was, I mean, he's amazing. He's kind. He was like, "Hey, we're both kind of new to this. We're figuring it out." And he really let me kind of like take it on and learn and just figure stuff out. And it was really from there just a snowball. I was like, one, I love functional medicine. Like I will die on this hill. It's the best thing. It's going to save the world.
Yeah.
And also that nobody knows how to do this stuff. Like nobody it was like, it was like he was calling it the Facebook. It was like still just, it's like the
Yeah.
old school. There was no Instagram. So I was like, man, if I can help one person reach tens of thousands of people, what if I help more people reach tens of thousands of people? And it really is for me something that's more mission based because I'm so passionate about health and wellness and so for me it's like man for every post we put out every email we send every Google business review we get I'm like we're helping people because other people are seeing this and they're learning. So it has really just been a snowball. And I mean, you've introduced me to people. I think everything at this point has been referral based, and it has just gotten better and better and better. And I'm as happy today as I was on day one, and I'm 10 times more grateful, a million times more grateful because I mean, pinch me. It's the dream.
I love what you're saying there because it's probably why we align so well is there's this deep, deep. In fact, I just heard this morning an interview on a podcast about grit and what is grit. And it's like the people who go the long term, like get whether it's a business or a change in the world or their health or whatever they're doing in the world. And that grit is a combination of long-term passion about what they believe in and then persistence, like keep at it day after day. And I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. Because when you have this kind of clear, like, I love this, I want to do this, I want to support this, and I hear that in your story, right? Like that you saw this in functional medicine, and you know that you're making a difference, which is so much about that. Um, we're talking to people who may be either a little questioning. I think now more than ever, people are questioning what are they doing in the world? Is it making a difference? Am I satisfied in my life? Am I wanting to change directions? So maybe just for a moment, let's talk to the person out there who's like, they go to work and they do it and it's a job and they're getting a paycheck, but they are not feeling that passion they see in you and me. And yet they're getting a paycheck, right? And so there's a security there. What could we say to that person who that might encourage them to think a little bit outside the box or to look at for something different in the midst of the fear of letting go of what's certain, right?
I love that question. And I think this is another thing you and I have in common in that we are really optimistic. We are positive pollies. And my first thing is just like, hey, I've worked with people I did not care for as much. I had a full-time job while I was building this business. And I did like it, but was it my life's mission? No. And I just think that you can find so much joy in everything you do, even if it's not the thing you want to do forever. And even if it's not the thing that you wake up and say, I can't wait to go to my 9 to 5. Like there's still ways to find and build joy, but it has to be intentional. It's not going to just fall in your lap. Like I believe in manifesting, but also in grit, right? Like you have to have both.
Yeah.
And so, I also tell people you're not going to build something overnight, but don't be impulsive. Like you can work that 9 to 5, maybe you don't love it, it pays the bills, whatever, but think about the things that do actually build joy and the things that you are really passionate about. How can you start something on the side? I think that's how it starts for a lot of people, like can I add in this one thing that maybe I do one day a week? Can I do consulting for something that I'm actually really good at? I mean, it's a slow grind, and again, it doesn't happen overnight, but I really genuinely believe that if we aren't looking for that joy, then it's not going to find us. I mean, you might have happy moments,
Yeah.
but I believe that joy is one, it's work. You have to do it all the time, but it's really rewarding work. And I think that it has the potential to be interwoven into like every second of your day. I really believe, I don't know, I'm mushy, but I really, I really think that. So even if you don't feel super happy with where you are, you have the power to do something about that, whether it's you change your perspective or that you build another business or have a side hustle. But the power is in your hands for sure.
I really love that answer. I was expecting you maybe to say, yeah, drop that, go do what you love. But I hear in that you can stay where you're at, even if you're not 100% satisfied. And first, find the opportunities, find the joys, find that because we can make a difference wherever we're at, right? I mean, in the grocery store, we can say hi and smile and ask how someone's doing. And sometimes, like for me, these little glimpses of just like connecting, it's like that you catch their eye and you see they're down and you give them a huge smile or you maybe check in with them and it could be the mailman, the grocery clerk, whatever. And this little tiny interaction, human to human, is like, oh, I think I changed that person's day a little bit, just a little tiny. And so
Yeah.
wherever you're working, you're saying you can do that. You can make those differences, but then maybe start to look. And I've heard you say like clarity precedes growth, right? So there's this like idea that um, so maybe someone has lacking clarity. What might they do to find or determine? I think a lot of the, especially like college age kids nowadays, more than at least when I was in college, are like, I don't know what I want. The world's really changing. So how do we find that clarity that might precede where we want to go?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I really try to be realistic because I'm like, okay, I have three little kids, I have a house, like I have responsibilities. So I am always like cautious about this because it's very different to be like 20 and you're like gonna start your life and maybe you can move back home with mom and
Mhm.
versus like, where you are in your life, like it has to be realistic and doable. Like nobody wants to be hungry and, not be able to pay their bills. But I feel like we overthink it a little bit. And I think this comes back to something I've heard you talk about, Jill, which is we don't trust ourselves enough. Like what that intuition, that gut, you are the most intuitive person I have ever met in my entire life. And you just know. You don't have to explain it. You don't have to, there's no preface there. You just know. And you say it and I'm like, "Yes, that's the thing. I get it. I follow along." And I think that we all could afford to trust ourselves a little bit more. Like gut instincts, what does that mean? Like what is that little voice telling you? Does something feel really good? And I think for our listeners, you know when something feels good. You can't really explain it. You just know. And you also know when it doesn't. And we try to kind of talk ourselves out of it and justify it. And I think it's the same thing when you are graduating from college. Maybe you're in your career five years in. Maybe you're close to retirement. You know what brings you joy. You know it feels good because you don't have to think twice about it. You don't have to overthink it. You don't have to explain it. It's just this vibration that's really high and you just know what it is. And I say follow that. Like, what does that mean? Break that down further, write it down, tell somebody about it. I think that's where all my best ideas have come from.
I love that. And thank you for that kind compliment because it's been a long time coming as a recovering people pleaser, which is someone who feels
Same.
like, right, that needs to, and in the past, I would have had to need to explain. And what happened for me with that intuitive piece is now I deeply trust myself and I trust that knowing. And the thing about the knowing, the intuitive voice is it's very quiet, it's very subtle, it's not loud, flashing lights.
Right.
And you and I know this world. We've been here for a long time. And I've been to so many marketing events, masterminds, and I walked into those and I immediately felt out of place. And I felt like I was a loser and I felt like I wasn't doing enough. And I felt like I had done everything wrong because there was a message out there on the stage that was saying, you must do it this way. You must do it like I've done it. And here's the protocol. And in my heart, there was a piece like, oh, that doesn't align with who I am. And nothing wrong because that message might have been perfect for the person sitting next to me. But for me, I always knew in my heart when it wasn't right. But years ago, what I would do is I would be there and I would just get smaller and smaller and smaller. And I'd be like, I'm doing everything wrong. I'm not doing enough. I don't have the right team. I like, "Blah." And you and I went through a book launch. And I
Yeah.
just want to say, just like I'll throw it out on the table here. I hired two teams that were so not aligned. They were wonderful people. They've worked for other teams. For me, they almost spiraled me down the toilet. And you saw that happening for different reasons. And one was like the powerhouse that, China, bulldog in a China shop. And the other one was like quiet and no team effort. Like it was just hilarious to think about. It was almost like the
Mhm.
Goldilocks and the three bears. And the two got right. And then
That's
guess what? We ended up launching the book with you and my team internally. And it was the best thing we did. And but I had to let go of the shoulds and the must. And I'm pausing here to talk because I think a lot of people need that permission to just really show up and to trust that little inner voice, even when the whole world tells you you're crazy and you're wrong, because you and I have seen some of the best ideas and the things that don't make sense are the best ideas because they're so resonant with us as a team or with me as the leader and that. And I think that's really important.
You know what I realized about you too, Jill, and I've seen this in action a few times. The book launch is a really good example, is that to your point, saying, hey, do it this way. This is the right way. This is what all the big wigs are doing. I hear this I mean, weekly from like
Yes.
people I meet. They so much FOMO, this is what they're doing. This is what, and I'm like, okay. The thing is, what we actually, this is my personal opinion, but like what I think we should all be doing is actually elevating our souls and our self, because I think that the best clarity and the best decision making comes when we are at the top of our game as a human, not as a doctor, not as a marketer, a mom, a spouse, a friend, a colleague, a mentor. All those things are other titles, but how we are to ourselves, that's how you build intuition. That's how you build self-trust. And so I think if you were to walk into one of those places today, you would immediately say, I am at the top of my game and I know what is right and wrong here for me. Whereas those things take time. So maybe 10 years ago, you felt small. I can relate to that a lot. I really can. And I want to hug 10 years ago, Jill, for feeling that way because it's kind of yucky. It's a kind of yucky feeling, but also on the other end of it, you really come out and you're like, wait a minute, like I don't need to feel small here. And if you were feeling small, other people were too.
Yeah.
And to
Yeah.
me, growth is you don't have to be small first. You know what I mean? Like you can operate at a high level and be really positive, self-love, help other people and show up for people and be just as successful as feeling small. Like the scare tactic to me is always kind of icky and it's just unnecessary. I think if we just focused on actually watering our own grass, like, oh, there's where the flowers are.
Exactly. Oh gosh, I love that because we learned, interesting too, because I did a lot of work and then I always feel like even writing the book was kind of therapy. And as I wrote through that and some of the pieces that I shared, one of the biggest lessons was you can't really love yourself. So there's this healing that happens when we truly like just accept and love all of our parts of ourselves, all the icky parts and the beautiful parts and everything in between. But I realized in the writing and in the experiential growth that I had to go through, um, I could not love myself until I trusted myself. And the trusting myself came from trusting that little tiny voice inside that said, go this way, even though everybody else is going that way, go this way, it'll work out okay. And like that is so powerful if you're listening and you don't really trust yourself. You're not going to be able to love yourself either. Those things kind of go hand in hand. And then what happens, and I love your comments on this because now you've worked with many, many other people. I find whether it's sharing a new concept or idea or doing a course or whatever things we do in the world, when I'm just so aligned and in my joy, there's no selling or marketing.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? It's just pure joy because I love what I'm talking about and it comes across that way so authentically. You're a marketing expert, but talk a little bit about, I mean, the world's frame, which isn't all bad, but then this framework of how do we live authentically and market in an authentic way, because that's the most powerful for anyone out there.
Yeah, I love that question. When I get introduced to somebody and I do a call with them, this is the first words out of my mouth. I'm like, hi, nice to meet you. And I go, okay, so I am brutally honest. Like to a fault, I'm transparent. And I was like, and if I can't help you, I'm going to tell you that. And the reason is that that is a reflection of how I do everything in my life. It's how I'm in my marriage, it's how I parent, it's how I run my business. And what I tell people is it shouldn't be a lot of hard work to just be yourself, right? So if you're really struggling with like, what do I talk about on social media or what do I email? We're already missing the mark. So like, let's take a step back. And sometimes people will record a reel or again, write an email and they're like, how is this? And I was like, well, how do you think it is? Like, does this feel good to you? And they're like, well, I feel like this is really what people want to hear. And I'm, okay, so scratch it. That's not the best businesses like, and I can speak to you directly, like you have built an empire so successful. Everybody loves you. I mean, I bring up your name and everyone's like, still, they are obsessed with you. Um, but it's because you just live in your truth. Like there's no bending of anything. There's no second guessing. There's no questioning. It's like, it's not hard for you to just be a really good person, Jill. And when you were referencing earlier about like when you're in the grocery store or when you're doing, it's a habit, right? Like I feel the same way. Like I always offer my Amazon guy, like, do you need some water?
Yeah.
Or, like anything I can do to just be like, I acknowledge you. I see you. I think the job you do is really hard. And I haven't walked those shoes yet, but like I see you as another human being. But that's a habit. And it's something that you have to kind of practice and work at. And I think selfishly, it brings me joy to bring other people joy. It's like a little bit
Yeah.
cyclical
Right.
there. But like I think at the end of the day, if we're all operating at this level of we're being honest, we're being truthful, we're not afraid to speak out. Again, maybe everyone's going that way, but we're going this way, which I have to say, just to insert here, I feel like early on, you were talking about things that nobody else was talking about. You were talking about things that people were like, what is all that? I mean, the MTHFR blog, do you
Oh,
still
yes, I remember now. Like,
went viral because like all of a sudden it became a thing. Mold, like you were talking about mold before anybody was talking about mold, and now only we're talking about mold. Like the whole
right.
world is talking about mold, and I'm just like, yeah, you followed your gut when you were like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
this is something I'm seeing in practice. This is something I have to spend time on with my patients. So I think it's just a matter of it's really hard today to be on Instagram and to be on social media and have a newsletter list the size that you do and do all the things and not think about what other people are saying or thinking of you. I think that's hard. I want to acknowledge that. But the best thing we can do is say, values first. What is important to me? Being honest is important to me. Being authentic is important to me. And I will say this, the hardest thing I think, and I will speak transparently, this is hard for me. I'm still working on this, is genuinely knowing that someone is going to not like what I'm
Right.
saying.
Yes.
Someone's going to disagree with me. Someone's going to actually say something negative to me, but I'm still in my truth and it doesn't define who I am. And we've had this conversation when I mean, this has happened so rarely over the years, but every now and then you get someone who's like, I can't believe you're selling supplements. And we're
Right.
like, what do you mean we're helping people? Like, how can you say that?
Yeah.
But it's fun. Like when you have brought that to me, I was like, wow, I can relate to this so much because recovering people pleaser.
Yes.
I want people to like me. I
Yes.
really want them to know that I'm a good person and I want them to know all these things about me. But that's not how it works. This is also the kind of grit that goes into being a business owner. You deal with a lot of people. You have rolled with the most elite celebrity, A-list people, wealthy people, sick people. I mean, you've rolled with all of them, Jill, and you're still here, and you're like, I'm fine. I'm good. Like I'm living in my truth. So I think we have to know that there's always going to be some of that, and it doesn't have to change your path as long as it still feels good to you.
Gosh, I love that because that's really, I think there's so much fear about two things that come to mind as you're talking about that. And maybe we can talk quickly because social media, no matter where you're at, what business, if you're, a drywall company or if you're a physician, you kind of need social media now because that's where people often find you and, the chat algorithms and everything. Anyway, perfectionism and visibility. I think two things that maybe block people. And I came across this. We were talking about this thing that I was going to do recently. I probably will still come back and do it, where I was going to go on every day for like 30 days and just
Yeah.
be like morning, whatever, just like start talking. I got so frozen with that. And you were like, maybe we start talking about that, like how, because that's common to everybody, right? My freeze response was, oh my gosh, if I commit to 30 days, I got to show up for 30 days. What if I have a bad day? And I know myself, and I am most of the time happy, but once in a while wake up on the wrong side of bed and be like, I don't want to talk to anybody. And right now I can selectively choose, but that idea of committing 30 days to be on there with people, just being real and raw, it was terrifying. And part of it was probably my old perfectionist tendencies of like, what if I show up gross and I'm not really happy about life? Or, and again, that's pretty rare, but it's absolutely the truth of my life too. So that perfectionism and then the visibility. I think there's a ton of people that are terrified, probably for the same reasons you just talked about, of like people criticizing, because there's going to be the critics. How do you talk to your teams about the perfectionism and the visibility and like overcoming that in bite-sized pieces?
Yeah, I mean, so from like a literal technical marketing perspective, I tell people like, okay, just remember that like not everybody sees everything and they're not reading your blog start to finish mostly and like you're almost trying to perfect something that kind of maybe only you will see to some extent in some situations, right? And like every single piece and every single word can't be perfect. But and I see this a lot, and I think it's a doctor thing. I love you to death, but you guys are so smart and nerdy. That's a compliment. I love the nerdy. So smart, so clinical, like all the research, and I love it. And I think like there's something there, and I understand this where it's like the science is always changing, right? And sometimes things can be interpreted differently. And sometimes like there can be a piece of evidence, but like there's theorizing after the fact and like maybe an approach to something that differs. So I think at the end of the day, I like to tell people that that's your power. That's not a weakness. It's actually something to embrace. It's not something to be scared of. And I will say this, one of the things I think you've done well is exactly that. You're like, okay, well, nobody else is really talking about this, but this is what I think. And I'm a doctor. Like I
Yeah.
see patients. Like I can say this if I want to say this. And you put it out there. And what I have seen in those situations is that people flock. They're like, "Oh my gosh, that is brilliant. Other practitioners want to learn from you." It really worked in your favor instead of it being the other way around. So there's no such thing as perfection. We all know that. The whole, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And I tell people like even with, I have a client who's like, if a reel gets like 500 views, they're like, this is so bad. And I'm like, if you walked into a room of 500 people and
Yeah.
said nothing, you'd be like, this is unbelievable. Like it's all perspective.
Yeah.
So again, I think like it's all the mindset too. I mean, if you're putting stuff out there and you're like, don't know, don't love it, don't like it, they're gonna think that too. I really believe
Yeah.
that. You have to go into it with confidence and really say, hey, my audience right now might be small or smaller, but I'm going to nurture the heck out of these people. I'm going to educate them. I'm going to talk to them. I'm going to make them feel seen. And that's how you're going to grow. And that's authentic. That's an authentic way to do it instead of buying followers and
Right.
trying to do what everybody else is doing. It's just not going to work that way.
Hey guys, just a quick interruption to remind you that at Flatiron Functional Medicine, we are accepting new patients. I have a incredible physician associate named Fawn and a nurse practitioner named Hannah, and the three of us make a great team and are ready to take on your medical consults or questions. If you have any interest in that, you can get all the details at jillcarnahan.com. You can also call our office at 303-993-7910. And any products or services you might need can be found at drjillhealth.com. Again, drjillhealth.com. Okay, back to our show. Gosh, I think more than ever, that's really the thing, and especially in the state of AI, it's going to be the more raw and actually filled with maybe a few mistakes because we know it's real. I think those are going to be the premium kinds of things that people are going to gravitate for because the perfection, you can get that now pretty easily, right?
Mhm.
So,
Agreed.
um, let's see. On that note, I was just thinking as you're talking, because again, I've been in this growth journey way back when I would speak, and I would wear, I think I've told the story before, but I would wear the black suits and what I was supposed to wear, and I would just have the studies and quote. And one of the things, and so I was trying to be this kind of image that was very masculinized in a physician world, and I didn't connect as well. And then all of a sudden, when I started wearing, flowing dresses with lots of color and started telling stories and started being totally like, I mean, remember at the very beginning, I would see these kind of wide-eyed physicians like, who is this and what is she talking about? And how does she dare get on the stage like that? Right? Because I wasn't the stoic kind of standard traditional. And I would talk about in my clinical experience, that was my key word, which means this is what I'm seeing. I have no idea if there's theoretical randomized controlled trials behind it, but I'm seeing this. So maybe
Yeah.
there's something here. And what happened though is all of a sudden I started connecting on a way deeper level. And I think to your point, even on social media, when we don't see the person behind the screen or on a Zoom call, there's this connection that happens, right? And that connection only really happens with our energy of how we come and even in the imperfections of how we say things, right? And I love that you're encouraging your clients for that.
Yeah, and I can say this to everybody listening. I have sat through Dr. Jill lectures and they are unbelievable. And I'm not going to lie, the clinical stuff is a little over my head, but I actually understand a lot more than I think because it's so well put together and it's not confusing and the stories and you look stunning. And I think people, I mean, I have sat in the audience and watched people just be like, wow, like how do you check both boxes? How do you check this like very clinical researched, like there's protocol, there's process, and you're like everyone's laughing and having a good time. Your slides are so funny sometimes and the cartoons. And I'm like, this is so good. I mean, that's a whole other business you could do, Jill. It's like,
Oh,
hey, you want to speak more and you want to connect with other people. Like you're so good at that. And I will just to bring it all back like full circle. I think it's because you trust yourself, and you trust what you're doing and you trust what feels good to you and that speaks volumes for itself.
Oh, Daphne, that means so much. It's funny because I can remember the day. I remember it like I'll never forget it. It was an A4M event, and I was walking up to the stage. And normally before that, I kind of do a little bit of like self meditation, maybe a little prayer, and just try to get in a good spot. But there was something that happened that one day, probably 12 years ago, and I saw almost like, okay, I can go up there with like, are my shoes okay? What are the women thinking about my hair? Do I have the right dress on? What if I fall and trip? All these ego things, right? That is the classical, like, and be nervous. Or I can go up and let God, the divine, just flow through me. Hopefully, the energy of love and light. And what I realized that day, it was just like this epiphany. People don't care what you say, they care how you make them feel. And I heard that that's not mine, but it was I embodied like, how do I go up there with just love and energy, knowing that the words, my dress does not freaking matter. I don't matter. All that matters is how they feel and if they are expanded or transformed in some tiny way. And as soon as I just got that, and again, this was like a cellular level, it wasn't really almost logical. I never again stepped on a stage with any nervousness because it wasn't about me. It wasn't about me at all. It was about how do I bring this energy of love and transformation? And there's a message here, but maybe you'll hear a message and you'll hear a message and they'll be totally different based on what you're supposed to hear. But if I knew if I came in an energy, the energy was what mattered. And I think when you mentioned that, I think I've learned a lot over the years. And when I let go of that need to be perfect, it was magic.
Yeah.
It was,
Wow, that's so beautiful. I wish that feeling in that moment for everybody because it really is so powerful. And bringing it back to the idea of like values and like what really matters, something that I know is valuable to you, Jill, and I think this is another thing we have in common is service, right? We're helping people. And I I mean, I will speak for myself here in that I literally pinch myself every day. I have three healthy kids. I'm obsessed with my husband. He's very lucky, obviously. I'm just kidding. I have a business, a team. Like
yeah,
what? Like what?
yeah,
I have everything I could ever possibly want and need times a billion in my mind. And so what am I doing if I'm not helping other people at this point? Because I know I'm aware of what I have. So if I'm not helping other people grow and thrive and feel good, even if it's for a moment, even if it's
yeah.
because I offered them a water bottle. What am I doing? Like to me, this is why I'm here. This is literally my purpose. This is it. And I'm hoping that by showcasing that in action, I'm showing my kids that these are the things that matter. It's not the dress, right? That matters, although it's fun, right? Like it's
Right,
not,
right.
it is how am I making other people feel? I'm making them feel seen. I'm making them feel understood. I'm making them feel powerful enough to do these things on their own. Like that's that's it. That's the end game for me, like and I'm happy with the path there.
Yeah, and you're helping people tell their story. So in some ways, I mean, you're marketing brilliance, but also you're a coach, you're a mentor, there's so many other roles that you play. And it's interesting because that was one of my next questions, your kids, your family, your spouse, like how do you juggle all these things? Um, Tell us your secrets there because that I think is an ever, difficult moving target. Especially when you have three kiddos, you got three beautiful kiddos. I love seeing them when you share posts. Like, and your little
Yeah.
daughter who packs just like you and I.
I know. Okay, so it's funny. I recently posted something on my Instagram and it was we should do this. This would be really funny. And it's like, here's a little bit about me as told by my friends. And I had everybody send me like a little blurb about me and they're so funny, right?
Oh,
And one of them
awesome.
was like, I don't know how, but Daphne seems to have 300 hours a day, which part of me was like, I need to chill out. I really should do less. Okay. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I have three kids, 6 and under, and obviously I run this business. I CrossFit competitively. Like I have a competition in a couple weeks. Like I teach Zumba and I love to read. I just finished my 40th book of the year. And like I do so many things. And I'm just gonna not to be super cliche here, but I'm just gonna bring it back to I could not do any of this, Jill, if I wasn't healthy. Like I don't want to be that person that's like, well, you better start exercising if you want to do more in your day. But there's just no freaking way. Like there's no way if I didn't get the sleep I get and the recovery and eat the way I eat and stay hydrated. Like I do all the things and honestly I've learned so much from you. So, so, so much. And I'm always grateful for that. But I prioritize my health. And in fact, I go so far as to say this, and Some people don't like this. I don't care. But I say, like, it's not my kids first, it's me first.
Yeah.
Because if I don't show up for me, what am I to them? What am I to my husband or my business or my clients? So I really over prioritize like my own health and what I need. And I don't want to be misleading. I could be a lot better about saying no. I could be a lot better about spreading stuff out. I'm a yes person, but if I didn't have good health, I would just not be able to handle what I handle now. And I will say this too, like I have set, and this has taken me a long time, but like I have some boundaries now. I used to, even when I had one kid, I would still do meetings like after I picked her up, and like it was really stressful, It's like she wanted my attention. I hadn't
Yeah.
seen her all day. And to be clear, I have help. Like I do not like to be misleading. My two youngest are in daycare. And my oldest is in first grade, so like they're not here in my house all day long. So I have help, I have support in that way, but I realized I was like, this isn't what I set this up for. Like I built this business so I could be there for my family. So I've set boundaries. Like I don't do meetings after a certain time. And honestly, once I pick my kids up, that's it.
Yeah.
Like I'm not checking email, and I want to. I like working.
Yeah,
I
I know
like.
late in the day we don't, which is great. Like I so respect that, but like even for me, I'm like, okay, yeah, definitely we got to catch in the morning, and so
Oh, I love that. You're so
like it's
sweet.
the best in the world because I think, I mean, I want that for you too. Like I would feel bad if it was someone who's, going in that direction of compromising their family. And your family is amazing. I love them.
You're so sweet. You're one, I mean, honestly, I do hope that other people hear this though and
Yeah.
respect that also, because we work with a lot of people who don't, and they don't really mean, they're not
Oh,
ill-intentioned, right? But like it's that self-awareness and that awareness
yes.
of other people. But like the thing is, again, I'm like, I love what I do. Like you text me and I'm like, whoop, it's Jill. What
I
does she say?
know. I have to apologize just in case it's like,
Oh
yeah, or
my
you to
God.
respond whenever if it is
And then
like,
Kyle will text me like separately and be like, "Oh my gosh, this is such a good idea. Should we?" And then we're like going. And it's the thing, right? It's all
yeah,
also, we were just talking about this.
yeah,
It's like, it's the energy behind it.
yeah.
Like someone texting me and being like, well, why didn't we do this? And why
Uh-huh.
did why did we say this instead of, it's like, ugh, I don't want to deal with that at
Yeah.
7 o'clock at night.
Right.
You're just always like, oh my gosh, how about this? We're like, yeah, this
Yeah,
is what we love. It's like it's positive, it feels good, it feels
yeah.
collaborative, like, and that's what I signed up for, like that's what I love. The other stuff, not so much, but I think at the end of the day too, it's boundaries, and this all comes with time. Like I've been in business for a long time, so I'm better at this now, but I do think that going back to like the people pleasing and really trying to just show up, it's like that doesn't mean overexerting yourself either. And so I've learned that, but it's still tough for me. And I actually was talking to my team this morning and I was like, wow, the last few weeks I work out at 9 in the morning and I didn't eat lunch until like 3 o'clock because I did this to myself. I
Uh-huh.
scheduled so much
Yes.
stuff and I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah,
I'm a
yeah.
boss. I should get to have lunch, you
We
know?
have to keep doing. I so get you. I have for 20 years in the practice don't schedule lunch, and also my new physician associate, and they take lunch. I'm like, oh, and of course I want them to be like, they take a lunch. I could have done this for 20 years.
Isn't that so crazy? You
So I
have these
totally get it.
moments.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally, totally, totally.
Wow. I mean, being a business, again, like not everybody owns and runs a business. Not everybody wants to. That's totally fair.
Right.
But I think even when you have like autonomy in a job that isn't your own business, like you're allowed to take these things for yourself.
Exactly.
I could not. Yes, I
Oh, I love that. Now, something else I just heard that is so evident in every word you've spoken, but I want to bring this to the forefront is gratitude. Like in the beginning, when you're talking about your life, and like I really believe that a core principle of whether we are in the world on social media or doing work with patients or doing marketing with you, that gratitude permeates everything. And one thing I heard about you was you love your clients, you love the work you do, you love your family. Like you're bursting with gratitude, and there is no more powerful energy. And I think also within our team, one thing you talked about the tech stack, but I know the truth is I am so grateful for you and Kyle and Peter and everybody who works on our team. But I think that's also a real juice and a gel to a great team and a great way in the world. And you practice that, hopefully I practice that. But I want to just encourage those out there. Like when you come with a grateful heart, like every morning I come to my work, my physical office, and I have the staff that helps me and my, mid-levels that are there. And there's not a day that goes by. I'm like, who, kind of like you said, who am I that gets this beautiful life that these people around me, I love them. I love working with them. They work so hard. Like I'm so grateful. And do you want to talk just a little bit about that? Because that's something under the surface that you didn't specifically say, but is so clear in how you show up in the world.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, it's actually my next tattoo. Is that crazy? So I have abundance here.
Oh, I love it. And gratitude's
Is
coming.
gratitude. Yes. Gotta remember all the time. No, I honestly, I mean, if I, it's like probably one of the things I've taught my kids the early, like I all the time, I'm like, and gosh, you can't just say it. You have to live it, and listen, I was a sociology major. I was like a women and gender studies major. Like I get there's a lot of suffering, there's a lot of inequality, there's a lot of things that feel very unfair. And that's a whole other spiritual conversation, but I can never take for granted. It's to me it's sinful to take for granted even on the worst possible day or when I think back to like the hardest things I've gone through, which is a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
I'm like, there was still so much for me to be grateful for. And I mean, I think we all have that. I think we all have something on the other side of it that's so powerful and so beautiful. And I think that hard things are a gift so
Hmm.
that we can remember that. And so I tell my team, I mean, I check in with them. We use Slack, and like once a week, I'm like, how is everybody? Is everybody okay? Someone's sick. We send them a DoorDash gift card. It's someone's birthday. I have everybody's birthday and all the holidays in my
Yeah.
phone. I'm like, all of this is nothing without you guys. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not making Instagram posts anymore. Like, if
Yeah.
all of this is because of you guys. And so, what I've actually found is that expressing gratitude to the people around me has actually made my business a
Yeah.
million times more successful because it's not about me and
Right.
it's about my team and it's about my clients. And I just think that it's so powerful. And I also think it's a habit. Again,
Yeah.
like if you don't feel like you're in a place where you're feeling and expressing gratitude, you're going to have to start somewhere. I mean, there's no way around that. And there's a million ways to do it. You can start by writing two things down every day, beginning of the day, end of the day. You can start by saying, hey, when I'm in a tough spot, I'm going to stop and say something that I'm grateful for in this situation. I do this with my husband. Like we're in a minute, in the middle of something, kids are being crazy. I'm like, okay, we have three healthy kids. Like,
Yeah.
what more can I ask for, So I think it has to be intentional, but I think once you're in the habit of it, it is quite literally life changing. Like, I mean, I think it changes your business, it changes your health. I actually think, I mean, you're the doctor, but we know how powerful
Yeah.
our mindset is. I mean, if you go into something saying, I'm not going to get better, I'm going to stay sick, this is all crazy, blah, 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 you're not going to get better faster. Like, you're just not.
Yeah.
So it impacts every part of our lives. And I mean, if there was any takeaway from this, it's we have to stop and really talk about what we're grateful for. And I actually think that is how we change the world because everybody would just be a lot kinder and a
Yes.
lot more appreciative.
Oh, love it so much. Oh, Daphne, it's so fun. I have a few rapid fire questions to end with that might be kind of fun. What's your most important morning habit?
Ooh, okay. So, again, my kids are all small. Like I still have diapers and
Uh-huh.
and I actually think about this, Jill, when I'm like, wow, one day I'll just be able to wake up and like do my
Do
own
your
thing.
thing.
Like I'll be able to
Yeah.
just sit here. That's so strange. So for now in my season, I do not look at my phone
Yeah.
and I actually try and either sit in bed with my kids or on the floor with them. I just try to get on their level and I hug them and I say, "How was your sleep? Did you have good sleep? Did you have good dreams? Are you ready to have a great day? We love you so much." Like just it brings me so much joy and it's so positive, but I also want them to know every morning is a gift. Every day you wake up is a gift. So I really try to do, even if it's like 2 minutes, with each of
Yeah.
them. That's my,
Oh, that
that's,
fits so well with the gratitude because you're passing it. I mean, that's just, I love that. That is my favorite one I've ever heard. You have your own podcast, Better with Daphne. And I think that is it Better with Daphne and Tori now?
or
Okay,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So hopefully if you are listening wherever you're driving, don't worry, all this will be in the show notes and you can follow Daphne and watch her podcast. But what other podcast would you say has been on your playlist lately? Any one or two that you really love?
Yes. Well, obviously yours. I'm biased.
Thank you.
Um, I listened to the School of Greatness with
Oh,
Lewis
love.
Howes. I really
Mhm.
like that show. He has good guests.
Yeah,
I prefer the shows that have a guest versus like him
yeah,
solo. And then I actually have been a little bit down the Kabbalah like rabbit hole lately. And so there's a show called it's actually called the David Guillaume Show, which is just very Kabbalah is not a religion. It's just kind of like a mindset, and it's really powerful. And I really like that show a lot as well. And then I have another client who has a really good show that's it's a little more clinical gut health related, but it's Dr. Cassie Smith, who actually you've probably
Yes,
guessed.
yes, yes,
But
yes.
I
Oh
learned
my
a lot.
gosh. I always find it's so cool to find out the other people you know because I'm like, oh, of course I know. Very, very cool. Books you love to read. You just finished your 40th. What book should so our talk is, how do you have this life that you love and everything? In that vein, what's the number one recent read that you might recommend to someone?
Ooh, okay. Well, I mean, again, I know I sound biased. I'm not just saying this because I'm on your show, but I think that your book was brilliant and beautiful, and I cried, and it was lovely and an easy read. Like I read it really quickly. And I think that sometimes it was almost like obviously it's nonfiction, but like it's still a great story to read through. Like you know what I mean? And it was like, oh, to remember that like this is a real person and real story, real stories was really, I like love books like that. And then obviously I love Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert.
Yes.
I love Untamed by Glennon Doyle. So good. I would say I'm super mushy, but even Eat, Pray, Love, I thought was one of the most beautiful books I've ever read in my life. And then I also like your weird, like thriller, serial killer stuff. So we won't go into that, but I read a little bit of everything.
Oh my gosh, I love that. So I'm just going to put this out here since we're live and we've got a large audience. Liz Gilbert has been one of my heroes forever, and same with Glennon Doyle. So if any of you out there know how to contact them and connect and get on them on my podcast, I'll be forever grateful because I just adore them.
Put it out there.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you know what?
totally.
If they had the chance to listen to one episode, Jill, they would say, "Get me on,"
Oh my
because
gosh.
you're all in that magic, all of it.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, I've always resonated. And again, they've been a little ahead of the game with their books and amazing things they're doing in the world, but huge admiration there. Um, The funny thing is, my last question, I already know the answer. It was the world would be a better place if people would be more.
Great gratitude,
Right?
right?
I know. I'm like, oh, wait, we already covered this. We totally, so that's a really good place to end. Daphne, I just thank you for who you are in the world. Thank you for the energy you bring. And thank you for being what many people don't know is the wind beneath the wings of many people they see out there in this space. Like you have done a lot of work with people that many people would recognize. And a lot of people's fame and fortune and all the good stuff that they experience is because of you and your team. And I know I benefit from that every day. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for being you, for showing up in the world. And for the great thing is, we are business partners as far as that goes, but I consider you a friend as
Same,
well.
same. And
Yeah.
I'm how cool is that? I get to be like, Dr. Jill's my friend. I am so honored. I mean, true, I just love you. I love you and you're a good human.
I love you too, Daphne, and truly thank you. And let's just keep sharing that gratitude. And I hope you guys listening out there today are inspired. If you need someone to help you out, Daphne's available. And if you're listening, where can people find more about you, your podcast, and everything you're doing in the world?
Yeah, it's just daphnecohen.com. And my Instagram is literally just Daphne because it's spelled strangely. So
Love
there's no
it.
other one out there it's just Daffnee. So I'm on there and I'm pretty active on Instagram because it's fun. So yeah, I'm happy to connect with anybody. Thank you, Jill.
Hey, everybody. Wasn't that another awesome episode? You can just feel her energy and gratitude. And as you can tell, I adore her and have been so grateful over the years to work with Daphne. Hope you enjoyed that episode and maybe feel a little bit more grateful about wherever you're at in life. And just remember, if you haven't yet subscribed, hit that subscribe button below. Hit the bell to be notified of future episodes. If you're listening on audio and you want to stop and leave us a review, we would greatly appreciate that. And I look forward to seeing you again next week with some new great content on Resiliency Radio. Until then, goodbye.